Welcome back, everyone, to blockCAST show. Today we have an amazing guest from Ras Al Khaimah, Paul Dawalibi, the CEO of Innovation City, one of the leading free zones in United Arab Emirates. You will learn all about what it means to bring technology, AI, digital assets, Web3, gaming in Ras Al Khaimah in Innovation City, and what's happening in an amazing free zone. Paul is an amazing guest. You will love this show, have a blast, and I welcome you with my co-host, Dr. Demetrios Zamboglou. I'm Anton Golub, and have a blast. Enjoy the show.
My view is, the free zone business has been a bit of a sleepy business, meaning because it's so successful and it makes so much money, no one has really been incented to innovate. The reality is the economic engine for the Emirates was not tourism, it was really the free zones. Yes. Free zones are designed, they're set up, they're built, they exist to attract business people, to attract investors, to attract companies to the Emirates. And they're structured to support companies coming here and making it easy to do business in the UAE. If you're always afraid of, like this I see all the time, people afraid of hypotheticals. What if this happens? What if this happens? Those things haven't happened yet. So why are we spending any energy on them? Other free zones are in big trouble. They just don't realize it yet.
I think this is what Demetrios and myself were asking ourselves, also asked you, is about this dynamic between the free zones, right?
I did finish school very young. I don't know if that makes me gifted, but I did. Anyway, so I get fired. And my dad, who's my role model, who's my idol, who's the most important person in my life, sits me down and basically gave me some of the best advice I think anyone has ever given me, which is he said,
Paul, welcome to the show. It's really great to have you, and really excited also to discuss, together with you what you're doing within Innovation City. And I know we're going to have a blast because in the preparation for the podcast, we know you have a lot of experience actually in the media space. So welcome. It's really a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
I'm sure you're excited as well.
I'm extremely excited. I mean, this new city starting from the word innovation, and innovation is one of my favorite words. So thank you for coming to our show.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yes. And really, maybe to start off very strong, Paul, I mean, a lot of people are talking about Innovation City, what's happening in Ras Al Khaimah. I think for the audience, because we have also a lot of viewers from around the world, Can you tell us a little bit about Innovation City, Ras Al Khaimah? What are the developments happening there? And also what is your key role there as a CEO of Innovation City? Maybe to kick off the discussion like that, and then we can take it forward.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, Innovation City is a free zone.
Yeah.
And people think, maybe even from outside the UAE, even within the UAE, that tourism built the UAE, tourism built Dubai and Abu Dhabi. The reality is the economic engine for the Emirates was not tourism. It was really the free zones. Yes. Free zones are designed, they're set up, they're built, they exist to attract business people, to attract investors, to attract companies to the Emirates. Yeah. And they're structured to support companies coming here and making it easy to do business in the UAE. Ras Al Khaimah is the fourth largest emirate in the UAE. It's the startup emirate, is what I like to say. It's the growth story, right? It's also the fastest growing emirate. So if you look, it's growing faster than Dubai, faster than Abu Dhabi. It's the growth story. I think it's the exciting story within the UAE. Obviously, with the very large integrated resort coming to Ras Al Khaimah at the Win Al Marjan, there's a lot of excitement, a lot of eyeballs on RAK that there was never before. But Innovation City's place within RAK, I think, is unique, not just within RAK, but within the Emirates. What we're really looking to build there, the ambition for Innovation City, is to build the Silicon Valley of the Middle East.
Okay.
Is to bring a real hub of technology and innovation to an emirate in a way Dubai and Abu Dhabi actually have never been able to. And despite all of their success as emirates, as cities, and they have been phenomenally successful, if you look at the numbers, Austin, Texas has a bigger tech ecosystem than Dubai.
Okay.
And you go, how does that happen? Right? Austin, Texas is a nice city.
Full of cowboys.
Right? Keep Austin weird. That's the tagline. It's a bit of a weird little town.
Yeah.
But it's not Dubai. That wouldn't make anyone's top 5 list of the most, the greatest cities in the world. Dubai would.
Yes.
So why is it that Dubai and Abu Dhabi have failed to really attract a density of technology companies like some of these hubs in the US have? The Silicon Valley, the Austins, right? These places have become great hubs for tech and innovation. And I think at Innovation City and in Ras Al Khaimah, we have all of the components. We have all of the soup, all of the ingredients necessary to make this a reality in a way that was maybe not possible before.
Okay, I understand. And maybe just to ask you that in that context, so how would a company or an organization that wants to start their journey in the UAE, kind of how would the process be to engage and maybe set up an entity within the free zone? Like, what is the experience?
Yeah.
And maybe also, I think very important for the audience, like what are the benefits that you would flag to when they would want to set up an entity within Innovation City?
Yeah, look, every free zone, they're boring businesses. They're very profitable businesses, but they're really boring.
Yeah.
They all sell the same 3 things.
Okay.
They sell you a business license.
Yes.
Right? And it's a government authority. So there's someone in the back that presses a button and the business license gets created. And now you have permission to do business in the UAE, right?
Yeah.
And outside the UAE. But so you get a business license, we sell you a visa, we sell you a desk. That's the business.
Yeah.
Those 3 things.
Yeah.
And every free zone sells those same 3 things.
Yeah.
As a result, they're profitable businesses, but it's a very competitive business.
Yes.
Right? Because everyone's selling basically the same 3 things. So you land here, you want to open a company. How do you decide where to go?
Yes.
My thesis with Innovation City, I think, is a little bit different than other free zones. Because I'm not a government person, meaning I didn't come from government. I didn't spend the last 20 years of my career working in free zones.
Yeah.
If you look at the universe of free zone CEOs, I'm the outlier. I'm not the usual. I'm not the typical. And so I come at it from a mentality of, I don't want people to just come to my free zone to get a license and I want to sell as many licenses as possible. Yeah. To me, that's 50% success. Yeah. To get 100% success for me, I want to figure out how to support companies that choose Innovation City. I want to help support their success. So it's not just, hey, I brought X thousands of companies to Ras Al Khaimah and to Innovation City, but hey, 3 unicorns this year were born out of Innovation City. Yes. To me, that's real success for a free zone. Yes. That's the jump that I think we can make at Innovation City. But that requires a level of understanding of the sectors you want to go after, right? Because today, let's say you want to start an AI company. The 34 free zones in Dubai will all sell you a license to do AI.
So it's 34 free zones.
I
didn't even know the number.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you
Silicon Oasis, Internet City, Media City, DIFC, DMCC, they'll all sell you a license to do AI. Yeah. What will they give you beyond that? Not much. Really not much. And worst of all, because there's 34 places where you could have AI companies, the ecosystem in Dubai is highly fragmented. You don't have density. You don't have one community, one ecosystem where you're going to bump into all the great AI developers in Dubai. Ras Al Khaimah has 2 free zones. Us and Rakez. And Rakez, incredible success story, but much more focused on industrial, right? You want to open a factory in the UAE, you want to open a warehouse, you want to open something industrial, assembly, manufacturing. They're the best. They're the specialists. That's why Ras Al Khaimah has such an incredibly strong industrial base. But for anything tech and innovation, you have really only one choice. It's Innovation City. And I think this density is often overlooked as a success factor. I spent a lot of time in Silicon Valley, right? I managed a venture fund that was Silicon Valley based. I always tell the story of a Starbucks. People go, who cares about a Starbucks, right? There's 10 million of them in California. But there's one Starbucks. It's at the bottom of Sand Hill Road, okay? And Sand Hill Road is like the main thoroughfare in Silicon Valley where all the big VCs are. Benchmark, Matrix, Sequoia, right? Like they all have their offices on Sand Hill Road. Smart entrepreneurs know if you go knock on the door of Sequoia, the chance of getting a meeting is pretty much zero, right? They're not gonna answer you, and they're not gonna invest in you. But the smart entrepreneurs know if I park myself in that Starbucks, eventually the partners from all those funds have to come get their coffee at some point during the day.
True.
And this is the opportunity to approach them. Now, I tell this story and people think, it's a silly story. This worked for me. I had 2 meetings with Sequoia with one of my startups because of the partner I met in that Starbucks and approached in that Starbucks. So it's a silly story, but one with truth.
Yes.
And as a consequence, when I was in Canada, I coined this term density of intensity. It's the magic of Silicon Valley. It's that you have this really dense concentration of people who are all building, all ambitious, all trying to change the world, all trying to do something great, and all in the same physical geographic location. That's when good things happen. With Innovation City, this is where I think we can really make something different. Yeah. Creating this density of intensity in Ras Al Khaimah, and by the way, the analogy is a very close one. San Francisco is Dubai. Great city, successful city, but traffic, chaos, distraction, noise, people on top of people. Most tech builders don't set up in San Francisco. They go 45 minutes away to Los Altos, to Palo Alto, to Cupertino, to Mountain View, to what we call Silicon Valley, because that's where they can focus. That's where they can be around other like-minded people. They can bring their team. They can have no distraction. That's Ras Al Khaimah. Mm-hmm. We're about 45 minutes away from Dubai Airport. You're out of the mess. You're out of the distraction. You can bring your team. You can focus on building something great. Mm-hmm. I think this is where we will succeed, where other free zones might struggle.
Mm-hmm. I think then, Paul, definitely at the end of the podcast, you need to tell us where is the Starbucks in Ras Al Khaimah, where people can maybe meet you or His Highness if they're... So... this makes a lot of sense, actually, like how you mentioned it. And just to say to the audience as well, I mean, Innovation City, previous RakDAO or Ras Al Khaimah Digital Asset Oasis has been very, very important for the industry of digital assets.
Yep.
And I remember at the very, very nice event that you did last year, there was a lot of groundbreaking work that you did to enable, in particular, companies from the digital asset space to come and set up shop and do things. So I do agree with you that this is something very unique that you offer. And I think also in the context of digital asset industry, something that Demetrios and myself been in the crypto space for a long time. We're always trying to analyze and follow the dynamics, kind of what's happening in the country, in the region, right, Demetrios?
I said in the beginning of the podcast, even before we start talking, I wouldn't be surprised if next year we will be in Ras Al Khaimah with you.
Doing the podcast there.
Having the podcast there. And
I wouldn't be surprised. Call me prophetic, but I think it may be a reality. Yes. Look, there's an old expression which I like, which is never forget the girl who took you to the prom.
Okay.
And the Web3 space, the digital asset space, the crypto space is in our DNA at Innovation City. Yes. It's where we started. And to your point, RakDAO was a great innovator in that space. Provided licensing for activities that no other free zone was willing or able to tackle, and provided an environment where you didn't need a regulator, because we believe there are times where you don't need a regulator to do business, and you don't need the cost and the burden of a regulator to do business. And so I think RakDAO was a very, very successful story to bring innovation to the Web3 world and the free zone world in that sense. And we haven't forgotten that, right? Like, I'm a big believer, again, you don't forget the girl who took you to the prom. We don't forget our past. We don't forget our history. It's core to our DNA at Innovation City. I think the name change really came about as a consequence of the bigger vision and the bigger ambition, which is, if we really want to build the Silicon Valley of the Middle East, yes, digital assets, Web3, crypto is an important component, but there are other sectors of technology and innovation that we think are just as exciting that we want to go after. Because of that was really the impetus for the rebrand, to reflect the bigger ambition and the bigger vision for the free zone, that it was not just limited to digital assets. And And really what we want, like I said, is if we're building the Silicon Valley of the Middle East, you want all innovators, all technologists, all builders of tech companies, regardless of the sector. Having said that, there are some sectors now we're focused on. Web3, digital assets, of course, because it's in our DNA. AI, of course, because it's touching and disrupting everything. Gaming, a personal passion, but I also think the business of fun and gamification of everything is a trend that people are sleeping on still. Robotics, health tech, these are just some of the other key focus areas for us where we believe there's going to be a lot of growth and that we can capitalize on that growth. But I don't think it's enough to just say, hey, we want to go after these sectors. To me, that's being too flippant, right? If we say, like, if imagine if RakDAO had said we want to be the digital assets focused free zone, but never innovated in any digital asset related activity, you would say, wow, that's not really a digital asset focused free zone, right? If we want to be Innovation City and we were saying we want to bring innovators from around the world, my view is we need to be innovators ourselves, internally in the operations, but also externally in our offering. I think one of the key advantages we have is we understand the pain points. And because I come from that world, I was in the trenches, I was a builder. I understand the pain points of the entrepreneurs who come set up at Innovation City. And they're different. Meaning a Web3 company wants clear regulatory frameworks, clear frameworks to know what they can and can't do with the license. They want very streamlined and frictionless compliance process, right? They want these things. So you can't have a one size fits all. If you want to bring Web3 and crypto companies, you need to understand that they want bankability, bank partnerships. If you're an AI company, they want compute on their doorstep, right? If the GPUs aren't sitting under my feet, it's not of any help to me. If you're a gaming company, they want publishing. If you're a robotics company, they want labs, they want testing, they want maybe assembly. So because we're coming at it from a specialized lens and a lens where I have experience in these worlds, we can tailor how we innovate our product to match the needs of the companies we actually want to attract. Yes. This is a long answer to a very good question and a very short question, which is, why Innovation City? Because it captures the 3 things or 4 things we want to be. 1, all about innovation and attracting innovation. Being innovative ourselves, 2. And 3, building an ecosystem in a city. A vision is to build a city that is really, really suited with physical infrastructure suited to the kinds of people we want to bring.
I can imagine you coming in the office as the new CEO there, sitting and saying, it's time. This time we will make a change. We are moving forward and we will become Innovation City. So can you tell us a little bit about this process? I know it's very, very hard. Rebranding, repositioning the vision, building a roadmap. How can you take it from theory to reality?
I think I have to say, it's a great question. I have to give all the credit in the world to His Highness Sheikh Saud, the ruler of Ras Al Khaimah, who has just an incredible vision for his emirate. Right? This is a person extremely forward thinking, and not just in theory. In practice, someone who's really has his hands on the button and on the pulse of everything happening in his emirate and globally. I mean, this is someone. His Highness has called me up to ask me questions about data centers, right? And my thoughts on these things. This is someone really in touch with where the future is going, and very much has a vision for his emirate that is business minded, business focused. And I think he was incredibly receptive to my bigger ambition for the free zone. And I think His Highness was incredibly receptive to trying to expand the scope of what we wanted to accomplish with Innovation City. Of course, doing a rebrand as government is tricky. When you're a government authority, there's a lot of steps and hoops. And I'm proud of my team to say we did it, by the way, a government's budget a year in advance. So there was nothing budgeted for a rebrand. That was my surprise, right? So we did all of it, and we did all of it with the existing resources and the existing budget. And I think it speaks to the nature of our team and how strong the team at Innovation City is. But I really think all the credit goes to the leadership in Ras Al Khaimah, who have been extremely supportive of really trying to drive the emirate forward in a significant way, right? They know today they're the fastest growing emirate. They know today all the eyeballs on them are on them. And the idea is, how do we capitalize on this in the biggest possible way? And anything that any way they can support that, they've been incredibly supportive.
Awesome, Paul. And just to ask you, you have a very, very strong background, very, very strong experience, international, diverse. You mentioned that you were a leading person in the venture space. You have built companies. You also have a lot of experience in the media space, which I think as well we want to touch upon later. So maybe can you explain to the audience, like, how does someone become a CEO of a free zone? Is this something you were young and you said one day, I wish I am a CEO of a free zone? So how does this path come that one day you are leading a leading free zone?
Can you imagine Paul in the university career fair of MIT there when the counselor asked him, what do you want to become? I want to be a CEO of a free zone.
He would have to further teach them. So can you tell us a little bit, how does your background come into that? How did you stumble upon this opportunity? So just, I think for the audience, it would be very interesting to know.
Look, it was nowhere on my roadmap. Let me put it that way. My dream when I was 15, when I was a kid, was to be a stand-up comedian.
Okay.
Originally I wanted to be my dad. I've always wanted to be my dad. Still to this day, I want to be my dad. Mm-hmm. But if you ask me deep down, what would you love to be as a career? When I was a kid, I really wanted to be a stand-up comedian, or at least when I was a teenager. I love having a stage. I love having an audience. I love playing to an audience, right? Okay. Now, the problem is I wasn't very funny, which is when you want to be a stand-up comedian.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
It's a challenge, right? And it's a very humbling. By the way, stand-up comedy is maybe one of the best training grounds for entrepreneurs, because you have to get used to failure, public failure, essentially, and public rejection, which is that resilience is what makes great entrepreneurs. Sort of aside, but that was my dream. CEO of a free zone was not on that path. Having said that, when I came to the UAE, I came here initially to work with governments. That's really why I was brought here originally. And I did some work with the government in Dubai, and I did some work with the government in Abu Dhabi, and I did some work in Saudi Arabia. And they always had a similar theme. Help us bring more gaming companies, or help us design investment programs, or help us bring tech companies, or help us design investment programs to target those sectors. It always was they were always looking to my advice based on my past experience, which was two things: startup founder and VC, right? Investor in startups. Yeah. As a consequence of that government work, which was fantastic, but the challenge for me as an entrepreneur almost my whole life, because I've basically been unemployable my whole life, as an entrepreneur my whole life, the challenge when you're consulting government is you're not driving the ship, right? The challenge with consulting in general is you're not driving the ship. Yeah. And for a builder like me, that's always hard, right? Like, that's always hard to swallow when you're not driving the ship. Ironically, the free zone job combines just about everything I'm good at and everything I've done in my life in one nice package, right? You have to understand the people who come to the free zone. So being a business builder previously is important. Being a startup founder is important. I understand the pain points. I understand what they're looking for. I can cater to them. I can build environments suited to them. Being a consultant to government helped me understand how do you navigate the intricacies of government and navigate, the bureaucracies of government, the realities of dealing with government, all of those things. So I was well prepared for that. And the ecosystem building that I did even in Canada and in other places is a core role of a free zone, right? Building an ecosystem. And so to me, it was kind of a natural fit. How it came about was I was recommended by someone who knew me very well, or knew me well enough, and thought I was involved in other things in the Ras Al Khaimah, and thought I would be a good fit for this role. Actually, he's on my board. he's the one that floated my name, and I guess the rest is history. So came about from a network, which, your power is your network a lot of the time in life. But I thought it's a bit of serendipity that everything I've done up until now in my career, I think has given me a real competitive advantage in the free zone world.
And can I ask you?
An unfair one, by the way. Other free zones are in big trouble.
Big trouble.
Big trouble. Very big trouble.
Okay.
They just don't realize it yet.
Yes. I think this is what Demetrios and myself were asking ourselves, also asked you, is about this dynamic between the free zones, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I can say the word, also a bit of competitive landscape between the free zones, right?
Yeah.
How does this work? Also, I think, Demetrios, you said, do you get together over a dinner or a meeting and you talk and you discuss? We're all part of the same country, the same region. But how does this dynamic look like between the free zones from your experience now? Actually?
Look, the free zones, while being government authorities, they're commercially driven entities, meaning they exist to make profit for the emirates they're in. And so because of that profit drive, it's extremely competitive. Extremely. Between the emirates, the competition is fierce. And within an emirate like Dubai, where you have so many free zones, it's also fierce. So extreme competition with a product that for most other free zones is fundamentally commoditized, right? Within the Emirates, there tends to be more cooperation, right? Like I don't know about Dubai. I've never run a free zone in Dubai, but within Ras Al Khaimah, the two free zones, we cooperate, we speak, we interact on a weekly basis, right? Like very, very frequently. And I would argue in Ras Al Khaimah, the two free zones, RakDAO and us in Innovation City, there's great synergy, really great synergy. And, I have real examples where, for example, a really cool electric car company came to Ras Al Khaimah. With RakDAO, they can set up their manufacturing, they can do assembly of the car, right? They can have people to assemble the car in the UAE, and all of that's turnkey, right? RakDAO can serve them quickly, efficiently, has done this 100 times before, 1,000 times before. All the resources are there to set you up. But then they can turn to Innovation City, and within the same emirate, within the same family, within the same solution, turnkey solution, have a place where they can bring their designers, developers, engineers to do the design, the AI development for the cars. These cars are Web3 enabled also. You can trade your crypto from the car. There's a lot of software development.
First time I hear trade your crypto from the car.
There's software development that goes on there, right? Innovation City is the perfect place for that. So in my mind, there's this great complementary relationship between the free zones in Ras Al Khaimah, where we have one that's very much industrial focused, one that's more tech and innovation focused. And those two things can work really very well together. Now, outside Ras Al Khaimah, the competition is fierce, no question. But my view is it's, the free zone business has been a bit of a sleepy business, meaning because it's so successful and it makes so much money, no one has really been incented to innovate. No one has really pushed the boundaries of innovation with free zones. And I think that's where you'll see some very exciting things coming from Innovation City in the coming weeks, months, years. We have a plan to really, really disrupt this market in a significant way.
Paul, if there's something you want to share, we are all ears if it's the right time.
Look, the greatest innovation is not sometimes just new invention. People think, oh my God, everyone needs to be Thomas Edison and have this light bulb moment and create something new that has never existed before. My view is sometimes the greatest innovation could be business model innovation. It could be innovation that is borrowed from other industries, right? There's lots of things, by the way, that have happened in Web3 and gaming that is a different way of thinking about business, different way of thinking about business models that has not been adopted by other industries. And as soon as you do, could be quite disruptive.
Should we take a step back and try to find out a little bit about your early years, where you were born from, which high school did you go, Where did you meet the love of your life? How did you end up in MIT? Because I mean, there should be a very special idea there. Okay, we're not going to talk about free zones and where you got recruited from MIT and about the counseling there, but can we flash back and tell us a little bit about where you come from?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm born in Canada. I'm Lebanese. I'm 100% Lebanese, but born in Canada. Grew up in Canada.
Where about in Canada?
I was born in Montreal, but spent a lot of my early days in Toronto. And my parents and my brother, my family's still in Toronto, still to this day. Canada, great place to grow up. Too cold for my liking now, but
they say they are the nicest people in the world. I'm not sure, but please tell me.
I mean, that's a high bar, right? I'm always a little bit skeptical when people tell me that. Are they telling me that because they believe I fit that mold, or are they telling me because they think, wow, this guy, I thought Canadians were the nicest people ever.
This is the rumor.
But Demetrios, Lebanese and Canadian, this is a very strong combo, very strong.
The other free zones may not think I'm very nice, but normal people may think I'm nice. Look, it's a great place to grow up. I'm thankful for my Canadian passport. Let's put it that way. Yeah. But early days, very much a technology geek. Okay. Like a computer geek, computer nerd, loved tech, lived and breathed tech, had dreams of being a developer, programmer my whole life. Yeah. And then realized I wasn't very good at it. Okay. Like it was not my specialty. I had friends who were just genuinely better at it. Mm-hmm. And I'm a big believer now, maybe at the time I wasn't aware of it. I'm a big believer that you shouldn't do what you love. You should do what you're good at. Spend your money on what you love, but do what you're good at. Yeah, nice. And I was not that good at programming. I was just okay. And so I took a job in sales, thinking this would be better. Still in tech, I was working for IBM. And I thought this sales job would allow me to touch the business world. And I had one customer at IBM. I was selling their big mainframe computers, and they gave me one customer to babysit, which was a bank. A Canadian bank. Okay. And 9 months into my job, I'm maybe your typical entrepreneur profile. I was bored, right? Because this bank was buying IBM servers every year. Didn't really matter what I did or didn't do. Yeah. Right? I was babysitting, and I had to pretend to just meet with them, and it's a little bit of the show, right? Not. It's relationship management more than sales. I wanted the hustle and bustle of business, right? I didn't necessarily want babysitting. And so I started doing work on the side into some of the new technologies of that day. And we're talking, early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. And some of the hot topics of the day, like Linux was very hot, right? This new operating system that was all the rage in servers and things like that. And putting Linux on servers was the really hot topic of the day, the cutting edge of the day. Yeah. And so I did some homework and I did the math and I went to IBM. I went to my customer, the bank, and I told them, hey, I've done the numbers. You guys could save a lot of money by buying servers from other companies other than IBM.
Relationship management went a bit in a different direction.
like this is crazy. Yeah, these mainframes they're nice, but this is dinosaurs. Like every cool company now is on these Linux servers, and they're so much cheaper and they're so much better, and this is why you need them. If you're in sales at IBM, this is frowned upon. Yes. And so I was fired from this job. Okay. I had not even been there a year. And I had I'd worked multiple summers at IBM, so they knew me well.
I think the audience needs to understand getting in IBM is an impossible task. So you have to be super smart, have the right grades, pass all the interview stages, and compete against most likely another 20 candidates that fit the exact criteria. So well done.
Thank you. Well, this is a lifetime ago, so I'm not shy about it. But look, I had done summers at IBM, and in fact, I was on patents. I had built some software for IBM. I was mostly on the tech side.
So you were gifted from a young age. This is what I want to say to the audience.
I did finish school very young. I don't know if that makes me gifted, but I did. Anyway, so I get fired. And my dad, who's my role model, who's my idol, who's the most important person in my life, sits me down and basically gave me some of the best advice I think anyone has ever given me, which is he said, look, you have a choice. You could go into academia because you teach, you can say whatever you want. It'll never get you really in trouble. Your students maybe will think you're clever and cool, but beyond that, you'll be fine, right? And once you're tenured, you can never be fired, right? It's a very safe bet.
Yes.
He said, or you can really double down on who you are. Like, figure out what makes you great. Figure out what makes you different. Figure out what's the thing that made you do all this work and open your mouth and risk getting fired because you believed this was better for the customer, right? Figure out what that thing is and embrace it and double down on it. And the result, whether out of necessity or out of his good advice, was that meant I needed to go work for myself, right? I needed an environment where I could speak truth. And even if that truth was uncomfortable, if I had the right audience, it would benefit me, not hurt me. And this is where my career in entrepreneurship started, right? Where building companies became the thing I was good at and the thing that I did. That evolved into becoming a VC. I got recruited out of MIT by a venture fund. So half of my time at MIT, I was actually on a plane back and forth to Canada and Silicon Valley because I was managing the fund while I was still in school.
Maybe you can tell to the audience what the VC does.
Venture fund invests in early stage startups. So it's a pool of money to invest in early stage startups. I managed a fund called Garage, which was a well-known Silicon Valley fund started by a guy named Guy Kawasaki,
of course.
Who wrote The Art of the Start. He was the chief evangelist for the Mac under Steve Jobs. And we created an affiliate fund in Canada called Garage Canada. And the idea was to take Canadian companies and plug them into Silicon Valley, which again, you see how this plays back into what I'm doing today.
Yes.
It's a very relevant kind of experience and relevant story. And I enjoyed being a VC. It's not that I didn't enjoy it. It's great, right? Instead of having one company, you can focus on 10 companies or 15 companies or 20 companies. But it always missed a little bit of the building, right? You're still an armchair quarterback as a VC. You're making calls from the sidelines. You're not in the game. And I've always, when I'm not in the game, I always miss being in the game.
You are mentoring, but not leading.
Yeah. You're not throwing the passes.
Yes.
Right? You're giving advice from the sidelines. You're making the calls from the sidelines, but you're not throwing the passes.
Yes.
You miss that when you're a builder, I think. There's something about that that's very, very fun. That's very, very rewarding.
Can you give us some insights of how you find these good companies that you will know it will grow? Does it have to do with the startup founders or the mission of the company? Maybe some insights of what it makes you click before you invest in this project.
That's such a good question, Demetrios. Look, I wish I had good advice there. If I could tell you in 3 sentences,
the biggest VC now.
Right? I'd be managing the biggest venture fund in the world.
I wouldn't be surprised if the biggest venture capital funds come in Ras Al Khaimah.
They will.
I wouldn't be surprised.
They will. But unfortunately, it's not an exact science, right? There's no answer where it's like, do these 3 things, look for these 3 things, and you'll be right every time. It doesn't happen that way. Even the companies I've started, right? Sometimes I believe in the product, I believe in the team, I believe in the vision, we do everything right, and you can still fail.
Correct, yes.
The market, the world, the timing, the customer. Like I tell people all the time who get no's from VCs, from investors, you can't let that take you down a notch. Meaning, you don't know maybe that morning you had a fight with your spouse. Yeah. And so when you come to the office, every pitch you're going to hear that day, you're not interested in. Right? Like, I'll come back to your question. I often tell the stories of the companies I passed on, famously passed on, not the big hits. Right? Like, I passed on a little company now that has changed its name. At the time, it was airbedandbreakfast.com. Pitching me their seed round.
Okay.
Now, when I was pitched to me, I was out to dinner, I was in an environment where I didn't want to be bothered with a startup pitch. I was with someone who I was more focused on, not on the person pitching. And I'm like my friends, family know I'm a germaphobe. And so the idea of someone sleeping in my bed or me sleeping in someone's bed just didn't hit home for me. And I told, to his credit, never threw me under the bus publicly, talked about some of those initial pitch meetings, talked about some of those initial VCs that he pitched to. Like I was not rude, but I basically told him to keep your day job, right? That this thing's never going to work. Wow. And to his credit, never threw me under the bus publicly. But Joe Gebbia was pitching me that day. He was one of the 3 co-founders of Airbnb. Very passionate about what he was doing and very knowledgeable of what he was doing. And obviously they went on to become a huge success. So even if you understand the space, even if you know the people, even if it's presented to you on a silver platter, getting it right every time, impossible. It's not just difficult, it's impossible. The things over time that you get better at, I think, as an investor, is a little bit of the intangible. It's the art of it, right? Sitting across from the person, is this the kind of personality that now, having 20 years, 25 years of experience, is this the kind of personality I think has what it takes to make something work? Because more than the idea, more than the vision, more than whatever science you want to put around it, the intangible of the human driving that business forward, to me, has always been the greater indicator of potential success, right? Is this person resilient? Yeah. Is this person who's just going to keep knocking on doors forever to make this happen? Is this person resourceful? Is this person well-connected? Is this, right? Like, I'm always thinking about, and is this person first also someone I actually want to spend time around?
Yes.
Because if I want to spend time around them, other people want to spend time around them, which is usually a good indicator of success in business, because business happens between people.
This is the same reason we started this podcast with Anton.
Yeah. And good things happen from this, right?
Yes, for sure. Is this the right person to spend time with?
It's true. Paul, it's so interesting when you're saying this, talking about resilience as a founder, and then immediately I remembered, need to practice doing comedy to get that resilience,
That's it.
You have been a builder, and you also told us this story with your father, who really encouraged you to go and find the right place for yourself and for your future. And do you think that this is something as well, this entrepreneur mentality, builder mentality? Do you think this is something also that comes from within the family? Was your father or your mom or your grandmother also builders? How do you get this into the DNA, or is it from the environment or from the doing enough comedy shows? Like, how does this look like from your experience?
I think there's a part of it that there's nothing that prevents success. Meaning you could be the most introverted person in the world. Like, people think great startup founders are, it's the guy on stage, rah, No, you can be the greatest.
Silicon Valley, they're all crazy.
Right. Meaning, like, there's no one personality type that prevents you from succeeding.
Correct.
I think there are personality types, though, that do help you succeed, right? That make it easier, at least, to succeed. Yes. So I don't think it's impossible to learn how to be a great entrepreneur, but I think if you're born with certain gifts, it makes it easier to be. Mm-hmm. And if you're born in an environment where it's encouraged and you have good role models, like, people love the story of the great founder who builds a company and then it goes public and it's a unicorn. And it's always this like hero story, the founder, the journey. Yes. What people don't capture in any of those stories always is, like, there were probably 100, maybe 1,000 times in my career where I felt stuck. I couldn't solve a problem. And I call up my dad. I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. I have this issue. Here's the 2 options I think I have. What do you think? Yeah. Right? And I credit, it doesn't have to be your dad. It could be anyone in your life, a good mentor, a good advisor, someone you trust. To me, I never undermine or underestimate how important that was in the success story. The fact that at many, many critical moments, I could turn to someone for good advice. Like, people love to glorify this story of the single-handedly doing something, building something. It never happens that way. Yes. Never. It's always a team effort, whether the team is in the background or shadows or they're standing next to you. It's always a team effort.
Yes. Yeah, I think this we can see it from professional athletes as well. It's either the mother, the father, the uncle, the brother, someone really, really close to the family.
That's it. And I was lucky to have that close to me and still do to this day. And I feel very fortunate. But I do think being a great entrepreneur, the core skills are muscles you can exercise.
Okay.
Right? Like you have to not be afraid, right? Fear is the enemy as an entrepreneur. If you're always afraid of, like this I see all the time, people afraid of hypotheticals. What if this happens? What if this happens? Yes. Well, those things haven't happened yet. Yeah. So why are we spending any energy on them? Right? Like being able to remove those fears, important. And it's a muscle that can be exercised.
The English say we will cross this bridge when we get there.
That's it. Yes. Exactly. The resilience, the persistence, right? Like knocking on doors, speaking to people, connecting with people. These are all muscles that can be exercised that will suit any entrepreneur's journey and support any entrepreneur's journey.
Yeah. Paul, maybe also to get your thoughts on the new wave of innovation coming from AI.
Yeah.
When you started or when we started as well, had our entrepreneurial journey, it took a lot of effort, a lot of resources, a lot of times to build something, to show it to the clients, to the investors. But today we're talking about vibe coding. We're talking about not even writing, speaking a prompt and something pops out. Maybe not a full working product, but maybe an MVP. So what do you see kind of as a insider of what's happening in the innovation space? How is AI changing the landscape for entrepreneurs?
Yeah, the barriers to entry are getting less and less, right? And this is a trend, I would say, that's been pretty consistent the last 20 years, maybe 25 years, where the tools are increasingly getting better and better. Now, with AI, we've definitely hit an inflection point. No question, right? It went from a straight line going up to a hockey stick, right? In terms of how easy and how low the barriers to entry are and how capital efficient starting a company can be, right? You don't need 50 developers now to just build a product. You can have an AI to do a demo and then go raise money or whatever you need, right? So I think the barrier to entry is a trend that will continue, that those will get lower. It will get easier and easier to build companies. What will happen, though, that I think a lot of people don't talk about is the signal to noise ratio will change. Mm-hmm. Meaning the easier it gets to start and build something, the more noisy the environment will become. Mm. And we've seen this already in the media space, right? How easy is it to make content now? Now, you guys have a very fancy studio, right? And lots of cameras and nice lighting and professional production, and everyone looks good, right? But there's 100 million content creators around the world. It's just them pointing their phone at their face, right? And so content creation has become totally democratized. As a consequence, everyone's a content creator now. I mean, who doesn't have an Instagram account these days, right? Yes. And so the world has become noisier from a content perspective. So the challenge becomes not, can you build it? Can you make content? Right? The challenge becomes, how do you make sure your content rises above the rest? Becomes the signal and not the noise. Yes. In development, the same thing is happening, right? We're going to get into a very noisy world where, making an app becomes so easy, it's 2 prompts. Yes. And as a result, the challenge is not making the app. The challenge is, how do I get my app noticed? Mm-hmm. How do I get people to use it? How do I get the people who use it to keep coming back, right? It's challenges that are the next step, not the first step. The first step is becoming easy, becoming democratized. Mm-hmm. Okay. Despite all of this, I actually think the life of entrepreneurs, though, will not change that dramatically. Here's what I mean by this. Great entrepreneurs never find excuses. Never. Mm-hmm. An excuse is a crutch that entrepreneurs avoid like the plague. Meaning, it's always easy to find excuses. I don't have the money to start this company. I don't know any programming. Right? Like, meaning you always can have some excuse. Entrepreneurs never lean on those excuses. They always find reasons to do something, not to avoid doing something. Even with AI, where now we're removing excuses. So you say, oh, you don't know how to write code? Doesn't matter, AI will write it for you. You don't know how to make a website? Doesn't matter, AI is going to do it for you. You don't know how to write marketing copy? Doesn't matter, AI is going to do it. The people who don't want to be entrepreneurs will still find excuses.
Yes.
They will still find reasons not to do something. AI won't change that at all.
At least AI will give them a chance. You can do the MVP and you get a chance, if you want to present the MVP.
True. But the ones who want to find excuses will still find excuses.
Yes. It's human nature.
It's human nature. The problem is the human, it's not the tools.
Yeah. I think that nowadays with this AI boost, that AI is the word of the year maybe. How you guys are positioning AI in Ras Al Khaimah in terms of education?
Yes.
I mean, of course, we can talk a little bit about how difficult it is to find talent, because when we had many guests here, they say it's still very difficult to find good talent. But are you preparing the managers of the future also to have these AI skills? Are you doing courses? How do you educate and how do you motivate people also to develop more skills?
This is something that it's a great question, and something we're thinking about very actively at Innovation City, meaning how can we help upskill the entire emirate, right? We see our Innovation City as the tip of the innovation spear in Ras Al Khaimah. And so we don't want to just talk about AI. We want to embrace it and then figure out how to disseminate it even to other government entities or other entities within Ras Al Khaimah. When we relaunched Innovation City, we called ourselves the world's first AI-powered free zone. This was not just good marketing. This was not just, let's put a tagline and hope it'll get clicks, right? This is something I believe to my core as a startup guy most of my life. You have to eat your own dog food. We can't sell ourselves as Innovation City if we're not innovative ourselves. And so I can tell you with certainty, today, a good chunk of our internal operations, all powered by AI.
Nice.
This time next year, 1 year from today, 80% of the entire free zone's operations, entire departments, will all be AI powered. We'll have a little bit of human oversight, but everything will be AI. Now, why? First of all, because eating the dog food makes us more credible, more relevant, more in touch with our customer. Right? We're not just selling you a license to do AI development. We're developing AI internally ourselves. 2, that AI infrastructure we're building will make us the fastest free zone by far. By far. No one will be able to compete. 3, the AI infrastructure internally will give us a cost advantage, a scalability advantage. Can I become a free zone 100x the size of what I am today, but maybe only add 15 or 20 more headcount? It's the startup mentality. How can I scale exponentially without my cost structure scaling exponentially? And this is what AI is going to enable for us. Now, with our customer, we're always thinking about how we can enable them, right? Whether that's compute, whether that's subsidy, whether that's education. We're always thinking about these things, how to bring the tools. We have some tools that we're going to be launching soon that we think will make our customers' lives easier, that are all AI powered, that will make everything they do with the free zone more frictionless and easier. I think part of it is that. But the disruptive effect of AI, people I think are massively underestimating how much it's going to affect every business. Even the barbershop that wants to open in the UAE will likely be disrupted by this in some way.
And Paul, what is your vision, or the vision of Ras Al Khaimah and His Highness, for the future of the human contribution, of human capital? Is the future for us to do content and podcasts, and we have AI in the background doing the hard work? Kind of where do you see this dynamic, this synergy happening? So do you see more people being as an oversight, as a contributor to AI? Or do you see the future actually that some parts of the labor of the work is fully displaced by AI and people just have to focus on some other aspects?
Look, it's quantifying the disruptive effect of AI is almost impossible. Again, because I think people are underestimating. Even the content creators will get replaced.
100%. Yes.
Right? Eventually, even today already, it's sort of happening. We see AI content creators, AI Instagram influencers, AI video powered videos.
Just for the audience, we're still real here. So just to say, yes, yeah.
I've often thought about replacing myself with AI for my board meetings.
Not a good idea. Apparently.
But, there's the impact, I think, is impossible to measure. The interesting conversation, though, is okay. There's an impact, which is justifying all the investment in AI. Yeah. That will create other jobs, though, right? It's not just a total job replacement. There's other work that still needs to be done by humans. The work will be different. But think about what this trend means for humanity at large. If you believe the trend line, and the trend line's consistent, if you look at 20,000 years of human history, 25,000, whatever, right? There's one trend line almost more consistent than any other, which is work is on the decline. Consistently over human history, meaning we work less today than humans from 20,000 years ago. Partially because, when I had breakfast this morning, I didn't need to go kill the thing I ate. Yes. I didn't need to till the field to make my pancakes. I didn't, right? Like the machines are doing all this for me. Yes. This is consistent. If we believe the fearmongers in AI, the AI fearmongers saying, AI is going to take all our jobs. And let's go with that for a second. Let's say AI is going to take all our jobs. But what is the implication for humanity? What does that mean? We should have more time, right? So what do we fill that time with?
Leisure,
fun.
Nice.
Right? And ironically, almost all the money in the world is chasing what I would argue is the shrinking piece of the pie.
Yes.
The future of work is interesting. We all agree it's probably AI. Some combination of AI and robots and things like that, right? That will essentially do almost all the hard work and hard thinking for us. So what is the growing piece of the pie? It's fun.
And enjoy your life.
Yeah.
Enjoy your life.
And this is why gaming, in my mind, is such a core component even of Innovation City, and why there's this holy trinity between AI, Web3, and gaming, where you've captured essentially the entirety of where most of the value will be created in the next 20 years. But we're really underestimating how quickly, if AI is successful at replacing us, how quickly that fun piece of the pie has to grow. Has to grow.
And gaming is very strong in the region and in the country. I think like some of the surrounding countries and UAE have the biggest population in the world when it comes to obviously young population that are very excited about these games, actually, if I understand it correctly. Yeah?
There's lots of excitement, partially because Saudi Arabia is investing zillions of dollars in gaming. But many governments in the region see gaming as a lucrative market. Again, people think it's, my kids play Fortnite. The numbers are much more telling, right? It's 5 times the size of the movie industry. It's bigger than music, movies, and TV combined from a dollar standpoint. It's the largest form of entertainment on the planet. It's an industry growing faster than any other form of entertainment. The reality is, if we define gaming really as the creation of virtual worlds, this is the next. Other than AI, this is the only other thing that I think could be massively disruptive to humanity. Because think about it. The AI is thinking for us. The AI is doing all the hard work for us. The AI is doing even the easy work for us. Okay? Now I need to spend my day doing something. Maybe I plug into a world that's not this one. Right?
We're going back to Texas being a cowboy.
Right? Like maybe, and realistically, I think there's a future. Before I took over at Innovation City, I had a media company that was called Holodeck. Holodeck was a name I picked very purposely. Do you guys know where this term comes from?
Holodeck, no.
It's a very nerdy word. It's a term from Star Trek. Okay, and the holodeck was a room on the starship. Okay,
I remember.
Where you could go into this room and you could ask it for anything you wanted.
And the room became your question.
Yeah. So it's if you say I want to go skiing in the Alps, all of a sudden there's snow under your feet, you have skis, the air is cold, you're high up. To your brain, you don't know the difference. You think you're in the Alps. Human beings are going to figure out how to build holodecks. This is coming. This is coming faster than we all think. And so if AI replaces all of the work, I think holodecks replace all of the fun and all the leisure, become the single most disruptive form of entertainment or leisure time for humans ever, right? Because if I can plug in and have any reality I want, the challenge will be why unplug?
It's true.
We might be already plugged. This is another question.
Are we in the matrix here or not? Yeah.
Look, I've been on a lot of podcasts, Demetrios. That's the first time someone has clued into that, which I think is so insightful. I'll take it one step further. How do we know we're not 6 layers deep? Meaning we're plugged in, and in that reality, they're plugged in, and we're plugged in. We're 6 layers of plugged in. That we're in a simulation of a simulation of a simulation of a simulation. And there's no way to know. There's some, there's a bit of an existential rabbit hole to go down.
Yes.
But I think the next really big disruption, other than AI, the singularity level type of event that we're seeing with AI, will come from something like holodecks.
I would like to think that doctors will change in the future as well. I mean, I think that micro precision is better AI to do the operations, to be honest.
For sure. And robots that don't make a mistake, that don't slip, that don't, right? Like already, and this is, again, we've picked the focus areas for Innovation City quite carefully, I think. Health tech is one of the 5 pillars, right?
Yes.
Because we know the disruptive effect of AI on health.
Yes.
Like already you send your blood test results to any good AI engine today, the answer you'll get back is sometimes way, way better than any doctor. Way more complete, way more telling. And so, and robotics being the 5th pillar, again, robotics and health tech works well together. You go, we were at GITEX this year. Half the health companies, maybe more than half the health companies, that's how we're all robots doing something or AI doing something for health. Yes. So we see these good synergies. Innovation, like I said at the beginning, rarely happens in silos. It's when ideas are borrowed and when the silos are broken down between industries. Right? Like Web3, I would argue, maybe hit its peak when we started talking about Web3 games, right? Yes. When gaming sort of became part of the equation. These are the things that I like to think about because I think that's where magic really happens when you start to see silos being broken down between these different sectors.
Yes. The other thing I want to ask is maybe you can tell us a little bit about all of these developments that are happening now in Ras Al Khaimah. When do we expect things to open? Not to to say all the news here. I do not know what you can share with the audience, but it's something that me and Anton were discussing even before you joined the podcast today. Is like not just the Emirate is waiting for this; the whole world is watching you guys.
Yeah. Look, the Wynn Resort will open in 2027. It will definitely be game changing for the Emirate and the region. It will bring 3.5 million visitors to Ras Al Khaimah. It will be the largest such resort in the world. You're talking a scale that has never been done before, never been seen before, a level of luxury and opulence that has never been done or seen before. It will bring people and business, obviously, to the Emirate of Ras Al Khaimah, and a lot of excitement. Now, what's always fascinating to me is where will these people come from? It's a lot of the interesting target markets, even for Innovation City, places like China, for example, right? Even though they can do these activities in Macau, they would prefer to come to Ras Al Khaimah, having spent now quite a bit of time in China, because they don't necessarily want to be monitored by their own government. And so there's a lot of economic development that's going to happen there, that even though today RAK is the fastest growing emirate, I don't even think we've started to scratch the surface of how quickly this emirate grows and how much it accomplishes in the next few years. if I asked you guys, would you buy land on the Palm 10 years ago? Would you buy a house on the Palm 10 years ago?
If you ask me 10 years ago, will I ever move to the United Arab Emirates? I will tell you no. But here I am now, and I'm grateful
or
to be
knowing
here.
now, we would definitely say yes. Let's
Yeah,
get
right.
something, let's get something in the
Yes.
Palm, yeah.
Like any good gold rush,
Yeah.
the people who are early
Yep.
do well.
Yeah.
The people who are with the crowd do well. If you're the last guy to show up, you buy a shovel and you buy a pan, you probably don't find any gold.
Yeah.
And I think there's a real gold rush happening with Ras Al Khaimah right now. And it's why, I encourage people to visit, right? Like Dubai and Abu Dhabi get a lot of the attention because they've been very successful as tourist destinations.
Mm-hmm.
That's where a lot of the mind share is. But when you start to explore what else the UAE has to offer, and in places like Ras Al Khaimah, you realize there's real gems out there. And there's, I'm living in Ras Al Khaimah now. I'm a big believer, like I said, eating your own dog food. I can't be the CEO of a free zone in Ras Al Khaimah, but to tell people, move to RAK, start your business in RAK, move your business to RAK, move your family to RAK. Oh, but I live in Dubai,
Yes.
right? Like,
Sure.
I can't do that. If I'm telling people come to RAK, it's because I'm living there. It's because I know what it's like. It's because I believe in it.
Yes.
And I can tell you, it's paradise. I mean, it's paradise from a business perspective. With Innovation City, it's paradise from a tech perspective, and from a lifestyle perspective, it's really paradise. The beaches, the greenery, the mountains, the quiet, the lifestyle really is something special.
Paul, you are a very active person, very busy, traveling a lot, doing a lot of events. So maybe you can tell to the audience what is your next plans in terms of the events you're going to attend. How can people reach out to you? Where is the right place if they want to spontaneously stumble upon you? Kind of what do you see for maybe until the end of the year or next year? Kind of what are the big things that you plan in terms of activities or events?
Best thing to do, follow all my socials and all of Innovation City socials. Mine are usually easy. I'm the only Paul Dawalibi with this face and that lives in the UAE. So I'm easy to find. In a lot of places, I'm Paul the Prophet, which when I had my podcast was the nickname I earned was
Very
given.
strong nickname, by the way.
Was given there. And, by the way, I had a similar dynamic. I had a co-host like you guys. I was the prophet. He was the professor. And
Demetrios,
What do
you are a
be?
professor, actually, by the way. Sorry.
And I see a similar dynamic, and I love it. I love it. So following the socials is the best place to figure out where I'm going to be next. In general, the markets we're looking at are the ones that are most ripe and most exciting from an innovation perspective, and that have the greatest need to get out of those markets, right? Places like China, Russia, the countries in Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe, even Western Europe. Today, doing business, very difficult, very painful. So we think there's a lot of opportunity all over. But if you made me pick one, China is really a big focus area for us and a big focus for the Emirate as a whole.
You mentioned a lot about companies that want to relocate or start in Ras Al Khaimah. There is many opportunities. But let's say if I want to open something there and I do not know the rules, I do not know anything, what is the best advice you will say? Send an email, call you guys? What do you think it's the best starting place for someone who is exploring to do something in your region?
Look, I'm the least scalable CEO of all time. I would tell you, have everyone contact me directly and I'll put you in touch with the team. And I'm happy to do that. Because I sometimes you just need to do that, right? And I'm not.
Wow.
It's something I love to do and I'm happy to do. But I have a great team, and so if you reach out to Innovation City, anyone you get hopefully will be able to guide you. Mm-hmm. That's the best way, because there you will get kind of the best level of service. You'll get our direct attention. We know when people come to Dubai, there's lots of agents who will try and help you with business setup. Yep. We're happy to work. We work with all of them, obviously, and we're happy to. But coming directly to us is always, in some ways, you'll get that level of VIP service that we think is part of what makes Innovation City special.
Yeah. And Paul, I have to compliment you. We saw your team at GITEX, and really helpful, really dynamic, very good conversations, and a very great reflection of your leadership.
Thank you.
And your style. And I just want to say, we had some interactions with your team. It was really, really strong, and they're very great. Presenting all the benefits of Ras Al Khaimah, I have to say, was very strong.
That's good to hear. I got secret shopping done without. You guys will have to send me the bill for that.
No. This was just a nice feedback.
But it's great to hear. I'll say I'm not surprised, not because of me, but because the team really is fantastic. I mean, we've built a world-class team at Innovation City that is going, like I said, is going to make other free zones' lives really, really difficult. That's ultimately my goal, is to take the competition to the other free zones and to really dominate that tech and innovation space, so that we're really the destination of choice for any tech company when they're coming to the UAE, or even when they're considering expansion outside their home geography.
Awesome. I think this was the strongest then also finish of the podcast. Yes. So I just want to say, Paul, really thank you today. Your energy, your insights, your knowledge about what's happening in Ras Al Khaimah and Innovation City, about in the country and the region and globally, were really eye-opening. So I really want to thank you really for, I had a blast at this podcast. I learned a lot as well. And we made ourselves a promise. I think that maybe hopefully we'll do one of the next podcasts, in Innovation City. Hopefully we managed to do that. And Demetrios, how do you feel about this? But I think it was amazing. I really had a blast. Yeah.
I think there were a lot of insights that people want to know, and they will get the answers from this podcast. And we wish you the best with Innovation City. And I'm sure that next year you guys will be achieving many, many beautiful things.
Thank you, guys. Look, and thank you for having me this podcast. It's an amazing show. I really think everyone, the world needs more content like this. Long form content that digs in. The great guests that you guys have, it's a testament to both of you. I feel privileged to have been here and to have been on the show. And I wish you guys continued success. I can't wait to have you in Ras Al Khaimah. You're going to have so much fun taping the show there.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. And thank you everyone for joining. I know you had a blast. This was an amazing episode, and hopefully one of the future shows we have it in Ras Al Khaimah in Innovation City. Thank you for joining. Subscribe to the channel. Have a blast and see you soon.